I come to the floor today to discuss the recent national security leaks by a former NSA contractor, Edward Snowden. His name is known now throughout the world. Some have praised Snowden as a hero and a whistleblower. I do not. Anyone who violates their sworn oath to not disclose classified information and leak national security documents that compromise our intelligence operation and harms our country's ability to prevent future terrorist attacks should not be called a hero, nor a whistleblower. What Snowden has done borders on treason, and I believe he should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Mr. President, it's no secret we have a serious trust deficit here in this country toward the actions of the federal government. And I understand the concerns and the fears of my constituents and the American people relative to some of the things that are happening here that lead them to not put their trust in their elected officials or in their government. There's been a series of scandals over the past several months, including but not limited to the IRS targeting of conservative groups, the actions of Attorney General Eric Holder, and the ever-changing responses from this administration regarding the attacks on Americans in Benghazi. Still don't have the full story. And this narrative just keeps bouncing around with change after change after change. So I understand this distrust that the American people have about anything that comes out of Washington, D.C. A lot of this is being fueled by mischaracterizations and misrepresentations in the media, grabbing onto whatever is said in The Guardian. Of course, The Guardian says, and what people hear is, this is what's happening to your country. This is what's happening with your government. They are violating your civil rights and violating your privacy. And none of us stand for that, nor will we stand for that. But in their rush to be the first to break the news of the NSA or other classified programs, to break it first on air, the media has fueled this distrust of the American people by misrepresenting the facts. Contrary to what some news reports and other sources have said, let me say this for the record. The government is not and cannot indiscriminately listen in on any American's phone calls. It is not targeting the emails of innocent Americans. It is not indiscriminately collecting the content of their conversations. And it is not tracking the location of innocent Americans through cell towers or their cell phones. There are civil liberties and privacy protections built into this program that are now being released in great detail. And it's important the American people understand those and know what they are. We have to understand that this careful balancing act between protecting classified methods and sources to the detriment of losing that and losing lives and identifying sources and really compromising programs, and the need to reassure the American people that we are following the law and following the constitutional right of Americans to privacy. All of this has to be put in the right context. As a side note, let me just simply say, Mr. President, that it's ironic that a lot of American private companies seem to have more information about us than the government does. They may have a phone number, but many of the private companies know what we like to eat, where we shop, what we like to wear, what movies you order, where you shop, where you like to vacation, and we're flooded with marketing attempts to address that information that they've collected against us. But that is not what the NSA is doing under these programs or the programs in question. These programs are in place solely for the purpose of detecting communications between terrorists who are operating outside of our country, but communicating with operatives potentially within the United States. The intelligence community does not have the time, nor the inclination, nor the authority to track your internet activity or pry into our private lives. And even if someone is suspected by the way of a phone call match with a foreign terrorist and someone residing or living in America and suspected of having a link to terrorism, the government can go no further than the court to get an order to investigate any other information or material about you. And let's not forget why these programs are there in the first place. Following the tragic attacks on September 11, 2001, America realized it needed to greatly improve our intelligence efforts and our communications among our agencies. We were facing a different kind of war. This wasn't two states lining up against each other. This wasn't addressing wars of the past. This was a whole new way of attacking Americans on our homeland. We needed to modernize our approach, and we needed to connect the dots before a terrorist attack occurred again at the level of 911 or others. In fact, had these programs been available to NSA before that September day, I believe we could have identified some or all of the hijackers. When one of the September 11 hijackers called a contact in Yemen from San Diego, we could have identified him through this program. We could have prevented the terrorists from boarding those planes, blowing up the World Trade Center, striking the Pentagon, crashing into a field in Pennsylvania, and killing thousands of Americans.
Will the senator yield? Under the order, morning business is closed. Under the previous order, the Senate will proceed to executive session to consider the following nominations, which the clerk will report.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that I have just 2 more minutes to wrap up this statement.
Is there objection? Hearing none.
I thank you, Mr. President. What I've just explained is why these programs exist. They connect the dots and have successfully thwarted dozens of terrorist attacks. They are some of the most effective tools available to protect our country from terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda. And that is why I find it so troubling and, frankly, irresponsible for the media and, frankly, others to distort the nature of these counterterrorism programs. These programs are legal, constitutional, and utilized only under the strict oversight of both parties and all 3 branches of government, including a highly scrutinized judicial process. But in the end, these programs rely on the trust of the American people. And with that trust lacking today, I'm asking my fellow members of Congress, as well as the media, fact-check first before mischaracterizing programs that save lives. I believe we can and we must protect both security and liberty when it comes to counterterrorism efforts, and I believe these programs do just that. Mr. President, I thank you.